So, hi everyone. So, on behalf of the Toshiba team here, thanks for taking your time to join us today. Really appreciate you being here on our webinar today. So, my name is David Chung. I'm the product specialist here at Toshiba. And joining me today, I've got two of my colleagues, Leon Jones from our professional services team, and also Ben Webb, who's our Southern Channel Manager as well. So, really appreciate them being here today. And Leon and Ben is going to talk to us about how to simplify and secure your scanning with our Toshiba apps. So we've been in the background, we've been busy developing a bunch of apps that allows us to connect our multifunction devices to other cloud services such as SharePoint, OneDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox. And there's actually more than that as well. So, and there's just going to be more and more that we develop and add to that space. So, and today we're going to hone in on one of the apps in particular, which is the Office 365 app. And Leon and Ben has a couple of examples that they're going to share with us today around how the 365 app has been able to help customers to simplify their scanning and improve on efficiency. Now, just before we start, we're gonna just a couple of housekeeping things. So this session is being recorded, and if you have any questions, please enter them into the GoToWebinar control panel, usually located on your right-hand side. We will have time at the end for a bit of a Q&A session, so we'll go through and answer some of those questions. And if we don't get all the questions answered, we will get back to you on those ones as well. So let's jump straight into it. Actually, just before we start, what we will do is we also, while the presentation is going on, we will turn off our camera just so that there isn't any lag. But towards the end, we will turn our cameras back on for the Q&A session. So let's jump straight into it, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Leon.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, as Dave mentioned, we'll be focusing on the Coto app for Office 365 today. I'd just like to point out a couple of the benefits and features of this app. One of the key features of this app is that it's a direct connection from MFD to your SharePoint site. There is no middleware or third-party service involved. The document leaves the MFD and arrives in your SharePoint location with end-to-end encryption. The app provides a convenient method for scanning your documents that all users will find easy to use. Our latest release has customizable features for print and scan, where you can remove options as required. In other words, if you only want to scan to SharePoint, then the print option can be removed from the configuration. OCR options can be used to enhance your scan job. Our new release of MFDs have OCR as a standard feature, which will make your searching your documents an easier task. Installation of this app onto the MFD is a simple task, no server required, and minimal IT involvement needed, as the app is embedded into the MFD itself. Current company trends is to move to cloud-based technologies, and our Toshiba apps can be used effectively as an on-ramp to assist you with your cloud-based projects. I'll just give you a use case here. When I do installs, I often ask the users, what is your current process now to get your files into your SharePoint? And the same scenario is usually repeated, how they do their scan to email. They do the scan to email and then drag the attachment across from email inbox to their SharePoint. The risk associated with this method is that the original attachment is usually left behind in the email inbox, or the inbox is used as a file repository. My example that's about to follow outlines this very scenario, which created a very big concern for our customer. So in March 2021, one of our existing large government clients approached Toshiba with a serious problem on their hands. They explained that they had been using the same scan method which I just described to you, where their email inbox was used as a repository, holding sensitive documents. Their email system had been breached, and those documents were now exposed. they needed to change their current workflow as quick as possible, and so they reached out to Toshiba for an alternative scan solution. I'll just hand you over to my colleague Ben, and he will also give you a use case and example as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Leon. Yeah, this is very common practice. We often see a majority of our customers still using email as a method of archiving documents and not utilising the benefits of the MFD as an on-ramp to their cloud-based repositories. The problem they face is that the scan to email sizing is often too small for large documents. The additional time it takes to get the documents from email and then add them to the SharePoint folder creates an email that often not uploaded to SharePoint and not available for other users, and it doesn't meet the customer's compliance. The documents commonly do not get deleted from the user's inbox or the PC, poses a security risk, or it falls inside the too hard basket and documents aren't archived or even digitized. But there is a simpler and better way. So as part of our discovery of a large secondary college, we found that they needed a simpler way to get their documents into their record management system. They were taking too many steps. It was time consuming to get the documents archived correctly. Each area had its own SharePoint site to scan into. A lot of sensitive documents were compromised, deleted, lost, or not even uploaded. So what was the solution?
In both cases, Toshiba's Kodo app for Office 365 was the perfect solution. We were able to install and configure our Kodo app remotely. Additional to this, we utilised our MFD's VNC feature, allowing us, the installation tech, the ability to remotely conduct training at the MFD panel with the end users to complete the full install. This we found was a very effective method for installation. It's minimum downtime, minimum disruption to the staff environment. We'd like to now just show you a couple of videos of how to use our Office Kodo app for Office 365. Hi, Leon Jones from Toshiba Australia here. Today I'm going to demonstrate to you the ease of use with Toshiba's Kodo app for Office 365. So let's do it. Once you have authenticated via swipe card, PIN or manual logon, tap the Office 365 icon and SharePoint. We have configured the software to log into Teams sites, and in this case I will select TPS for this scan. With paper loaded in the document feeder, we are ready to start our scan by selecting the scan button. Here I have a selection of choices for my scan, like naming the file. In this case I will name it Katie's Corner. Select the color mode to scan, mono, grayscale or one of the colored modes, a single or double-sided scan. Select the resolution, 100 to 600 dpi, and depending on your original, whether you want it text photo or photo mode. You can rotate the image, select the file format. In my case, I would like to archive this, so I'll do it in PDFA. You can create a preview before the scan job is sent, and even create a folder in our Teams site. When you're ready, just simply push start. Our hard copy is now being scanned and uploaded to our SharePoint site. And now in our SharePoint site, our Katie's Corner PDF will turn up. Please note that the files here in our SharePoint site are mirrored in the MFD's control panel. Additional to scanning, you can also print from our SharePoint site. We select our file
we see a print preview. We select print. Here you can see details of the job, the sets we want to do, whether you want to do it in color mode or mono, single or double-sided. If the options are fitted to the MFD, you can select staple. Here we'll select top left, and hole punch. The MFD I have does not have a hole punch, so none is selected. And start. The document is downloaded from our cloud site onto the MFD, and the finished document is produced. Contact our Toshiba sales team for more information on Kodo app for Office 365.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Leon. Now, very similar to Leon's customer, this customer had very specific requirements. They required single sign-on, so when they authenticated against a multifunction device, they could log straight into their Office 365 account, just like we're showing here. They wanted their students to be able to scan and print documents directly from their OneDrive for Business account. They wanted the ability for each multifunction device to not only show the SharePoint sites related to that area, but they wanted to be able to browse the whole SharePoint library and to be able to print and scan documents from anywhere inside their SharePoint sites. They also wanted to granulate the scanning into certain areas with direct shortcuts to SharePoint folders. And they also want to enforce the users to add mandatory metadata at the point of scan. So we set up some shortcuts to firstly empower the end users, the students here, to be able to log straight into their OneDrive for Business accounts. And they can browse that folder structure, scan or print directly from anywhere inside their OneDrive for Business account. We set up another shortcut that allowed them to browse their whole SharePoint library and drill down into that library inside of the subsites or to the folder levels and be able to print and scan directly from anywhere inside their SharePoint library from any one of their configured devices. And thirdly, we granulated a shortcut to allow them to scan directly into a folder structure inside their SharePoint site. And this is into student records, but we've also enforced them to add mandatory metadata to the document as part of the scan. Now, as we scan this SharePoint folder, as Leon showed you, we can select your scanning profile, the point of scan, naming convention. But as we scan the document, before the document can be uploaded, it will enforce you to select the mandatory metadata fields associated with that SharePoint library. Now, in this instance, it's student number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it'll also prompt you again for any other mandatory metadata fields that are associated to that SharePoint site. Secondly, we know this is a work experience document. Now, we would have to enter those details before the document would be able to be uploaded into the SharePoint library. Now, if we're quick enough, we should be able to see that document getting uploaded directly into the SharePoint library, directly into the SharePoint folder structure, with the additional mandatory metadata fields required for the SharePoint site. Now, in doing that, we've met all the customer requirements. We've reduced the steps it takes to scan their documents into the SharePoint sites. We've given the end user the ability to search the whole SharePoint libraries from all the MFDs. We've locked them down in certain areas to only be able to scan into certain folder structures inside the SharePoint library. And we've met their major requirements, and that's the enforcement of mandatory metadata
at the point of scan. Thank you.
Thanks, Leon. Thanks, Ben. That was great. A great demonstration, and really, I think it helps to paint that picture, because I think we can talk about it all we want, and you know, put all the words together we want, but it's really hard to picture what that app looks like. And you've shown that. And I think you've shown the two scenarios where if you want to go really simple, you just want to be able to scan something directly into SharePoint. You can, and then you've also gone to that the next level and shown that if you want to go a bit more specific and scan to a particular area within SharePoint, and also being able to enter those metadata, because the data will help later on to find documents easier, to categorize documents easier as well. So I think, yeah, again, thank you for demonstrating that and showing us how the different levels of what that app can do. Now, just one more thing that I do want to share with you guys is we do have a research and development team, and I think we are one of the lucky few that do have a local research and development team here in North Ryde in Sydney. And they actually sit a level below where I am now in the office. So we've got roughly around 50 staff in that R&D team, and 38 of them are software developers, so very clever people. And what that means to us is, what that gives us is the ability to develop apps that are local to our region and specific to some of our needs. So to give you an example of that is one that we developed for Content Manager, also known as Trim. And that was something that we developed with customers' feedback, and also based on the requirement, we built that app specifically for our government and councils customers. So that was just one example. And then also on top of that is we get all these feedbacks from end users, customers. You know, Leon, when he goes out on the field, or when he's speaking to a customer, either through a demonstration or an installation, when Ben goes out and visit our channel partners, you know, we gather all those feedback, and those feedback we then talk to our R&D team about that, and then either results in maybe a new app that's again local for our market, or might be an enhancement to an existing app as well. So another example of that is the Office 365 app, for example, where there is that scan. I think Leon showed that there is a scan and print function out of SharePoint, but in the latest version of that, we do have that functionality to turn off the scan or print function. So that was again based on a customer's request, feedback that we got from a customer. They didn't want the ability to be able to print. They just wanted to be able to scan into SharePoint. So we now added that into that latest version of the app. So again, these feedback, they're not gone to waste. We do listen, and then we put them into development. Okay, so thank you for listening to